Welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, your number one source for all things polling and elections in the United States. And today we are going to be looking at the Electoral College map 3 months away from Election Day. Hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoy content just like this. Donald Trump in the national aggregate is now down by 0.4% due to an influx of oversampling from Democrats in a lot of national polling. We have seen Democrats are more likely to respond anywhere from 15 to 20% more than previous. And yes, there is an enthusiasm bump for Harris, and I would say that she's actually gained from when Trump was going against Biden, but not to the point where she's leading nationally. And what we see is we have samples where Democrats comprise of 40% of the electorate and Republicans are at 25% of the electorate, and independents account for the rest. But that would never really happen because even in landslide victories, the electorate never really tends to be even more than an 8 or 7 point difference for the parties, because of the fact that mostly the independents are what make electoral college landslides possible. And so for Harris to be ahead anywhere from 5 to 15 points in the electorate, or at least that the electorate is D plus 5 to D plus 15, is extremely unrealistic. Even in 2020, the electorate was D plus 1. Biden was just able to do better with independent voters, and that's why he won the popular vote by 4.5. Based on Gallup, party identification and different metrics, and the fact Republicans have kind of gained in these big states, I expect the electorate to probably be R plus 1, R plus 2 or so, which is how we weigh our polling when we do it with SoCal Research. And so looking at this, there definitely is an overestimation. However, the model that I use takes into account the favorability of both candidates, and we test that to the model. And of course, we have the RCP aggregate plugged in here, but we also have this thing where there's the second part of the model that looks at the spread between the candidates' approval ratings, and Donald Trump is at 44.3%. We look at Harris 43.3%. So Donald Trump's ahead by about a point or so. And this is kind of able to help balance out what is going on with the model as of right now. And we can see here, Donald Trump is doing fairly well in the Electoral College as of right now, to the point where he's winning the national popular vote by almost 3 percentage points. And we're going to be filling out the map today to see where everything stands as of right now. Looking at these safe red states, we still have Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, except that 2nd congressional district. We also have Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, as well as Missouri. We also have the states of Iowa and Ohio in the safe Republican column. These states have been trending to the right ever since 2008, when Barack Obama won them very easily here by 10 points in Iowa and almost 5 in Ohio. And the problem with these states is that they've been kind of trending to the right the past couple of years. For example, Obama won the popular vote here by around 7 points, and we see that Obama basically won the state of Iowa by 9.5%. That is a vote to the left of 2 points. But in 2016, the state of Iowa voted by the same margin for Trump, while Clinton won the popular vote by roughly, give or take, 2 points. And so it went from voting to the left of the nation by 2 all the way to voting to the right of the nation by 11 points. That's a humongous shift in the electorate. That is a big shift in the electorate. We can actually check how much it was voting to the right of the nation. See, 11.5 points based off the math that I did in my head. That's roughly accurate there. So that is a pretty interesting analysis there. And so looking at the Electoral College map, these two states with Donald Trump winning the popular vote, the fact that Harris, even in the aggregate, is still doing worse than what Biden was doing. I mean, Biden was at 6.4%, ended up winning by 4.5%. So if you apply the error, a 2.4 percentage point victory around there would be what Trump would actually get in the popular vote, which is pretty interesting. Clinton was also polling higher than Biden or Harris were, and Clinton lost that election. So Harris being tied in the aggregate is still not even good for her. If she starts leading by 5 or 6 points in the average, then we can be a little bit concerned. At that point, the race would probably change a little bit, and it would be a lot more competitive for the most part. But we clearly see that these two states are still going to be in the safe Republican column, as well as South Carolina in this forecast. Now, looking at the safe Democrat states, we have Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC, and the state of California. California at 20 points, Hawaii at 80, DC, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Vermont are all in this category as of right now, bringing Harris just to 81 safe electoral college votes. I actually forgot about Hawaii. That state's actually not going to be safe, and we're going to talk about that in a second there. Now, looking at the likely Republican states, we have Maine second. This district has been voting to the right quite a bit ever since Trump got in here. He's actually the first Republican to have won the district without winning the entire state. Basically Reagan and Bush, they won the state of Maine at large pretty easily, and usually back then it was a little bit different. Usually they would tend to kind of, all the districts would vote together for the most part, and then they kind of implemented their whole district thing, and usually the entire state votes together. But Donald Trump has now picked up that electoral vote in Maine, which gives him at least a one electoral vote in the state. And I mean, he's been doing pretty well here, and the district, I believe, actually trended like a point to the right, I'm pretty sure, about a point or so to the right. So that is pretty impressive as well. And when looking at the map here, we clearly see that that state, or at least that district, is still going to be in the Republican column. It's a 14.7 percentage point win, so almost likely Republican, but it is still falling in that case. North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Arizona, and Nevada are all in the likely Republican column, as well as Alaska. That is going to be right below the safe margin at 14 points. Arizona at 6 points for Trump. Florida at 13. Texas at around 12 points. Wisconsin at 7. Same thing for Pennsylvania and North Carolina when you round it out. Nevada at 8 points in the electorate there. And so we have all of the likely states for the Republicans, bringing Trump to 281 electoral college votes. And this is why I'm not necessarily that concerned about the former president losing the election right now, because he is still winning Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada by pretty good margins, to the point where he would have to lose hundreds and thousands of votes in these states to even get these remotely within 2 points or less. And so looking at all these states, it's going to be completely almost impossible right now, at least for Harris, to even win these, because they are well outside the margin of error for the electoral college based on the model. And so I still say that Donald Trump is the favorite to win the presidential election, even with just the likely and safe Republican states. Looking at Harris's likely states, we have Washington, Oregon, Colorado at 11 points. It's barely going down from 2020. That state's trending far to the left at this point. And Illinois is at around 10 points. I wouldn't really tell President Trump to focus on Illinois, Colorado, or Oregon, or Washington. I would also tell the Harris campaign to not really worry about Texas, Florida, or even North Carolina for that matter, because they are not really competitive there. The one states that right now they would really have a chance at winning, and even still they're not really that favored, is Michigan and Georgia. And I'd say that Georgia would even be her best swing state, actually. State of Hawaii is at 14.5 points for Harris, so literally below the safe margin, which it's gone safe, the past few elections, but with the Maui fires that happened and Biden's, poor, response to it, and the fact that the state has trended to the right 10 to 15 points every single cycle since 2008, it's definitely pushing the state to the center of the country, and it's gonna probably become a battleground in like the 2040s or so. This is definitely going to be a little bit more competitive, as certain Asian demographics are kind of shifting towards Republicans, as well as other minority groups. So that's going to help a state like Hawaii kind of push to the middle. It may not go red, but it will definitely be within 10 points starting in the 2030s, is my guess. Now, looking at the state of New York, that's going to be in the likely column, 12 to 13 points for Harris. That's kind of what we have in our poll. Harris, in our poll that we conducted about 2 to 3 weeks ago, is leading by 11 points. And with the honeymoon still kind of here, even though, the markets have basically crashed. And so that's a big thing too. These markets are not looking great. And a lot of that blame is going to be put on Harris. So if things get worse, that's definitely going to be a problem for her. Maine's first goes for her by the same amount that Maine's second does for Trump. Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island, and New Jersey are all in the likely column, as well as the state of Virginia. This state is actually in the likely column right now at 5.6% for Harris. So that's even out of the group, basically out for Harris or for Trump at this point. New Jersey's an 8-point victory. Harris definitely has it proved from Joe Biden's margins. Now, if things kind of revert back or get worse, that could be a problem. And so now we have the states that are going to be decided by under 5 points. Those include New Mexico, Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, New Hampshire, and Maine at large, as well as Nebraska second. Michigan and Georgia are in the Republican column, Michigan being at 4.8% for Trump, and we have Georgia at just 2.9%, I believe, right here. It's less than 3 points, and a lot of the polling has it there, and polling tends to be a little bit more accurate in Georgia. So, maybe the rules do get worse, but I think in Atlanta, Harris is going to be able to energize some voters, and the trends don't really look great there. And with the demographic model and the favorability ratings, that's why that state is really not looking great. And Trump's spread in Arizona, against Harris is a lot bigger than the spread with Trump against Harris in the state of Georgia. And looking at these bluer states, the ones that voted for, Joe Biden by over 7 points, New Mexico's going for for Harris by 1.5 points right now. We also can look at the state of Minnesota, and it is going for as well as 1.2 percentage points for Harris. We look at the state of New Hampshire, which is another deep blue state right now, and in our forecast, it's going for Harris by 2.5 points. We also have Maine at large going to Harris by 2.2 percentage points, and Nebraska second right now is going to Harris by just 1.2%. So as of right now, we do have Donald Trump winning 312 electoral college votes to Harris's 226 as of right now. So if you guys did enjoy this election prediction, make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe for more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.